parents about it.
Is there one thing, like you said, hindsight's 2020, is there one thing that stands out now where you're like, oh man, what a red flag? And just something so egregious like that, looking back, you're like, how could I not have, it was right in front of my face.
I don't know. I don't think there was ever one, big aha moment really. Even looking back, it was so complex, so nuanced, so layered. So, I mean, there was just dozens of people involved in, I mean, me and Kathy call it the legal matrix. Like we lived in a world that everything we were being told basically, or not everything, but, 90% of what was being said now looking back would be a lie. So it's this very sort of bizarro, world. I think one of the things that I look back on that sort of catch me is that there were these email exchanges in July 2014, and I was pretty fed up. I literally said to Tom, I'd rather be dead than have worked on the NFL case or, being connected to the Ruigomez case in any way at all. And I was pretty upset and didn't talk to them from those email exchanges until my son's death 6 weeks later. So me and Kathy always feel like, it's weird how the world works, but that basically gave Tom another chance to continue what he was doing and sort of us to gaslight ourselves again, because now we're really emotional, we're upset, my son's dead. Kathy's obviously upset. It's very close to home with Joe and what her son went through. And now mine isn't, even alive. Plus, we send his brain in and find out he's got, intensive brain damage throughout his entire brain. And I'm working on the NFL case, so we're just feeling like, women are often told we're over emotional. So we're thinking, we're just being over emotional. We really need to just calm down. And instead, we just really gave them another chance. So, yeah, I look back and think if my son hadn't died, would the buck have stopped there? It might have.
Right. But I mean, you can't blame yourself for this.
No, I don't. I definitely don't. Yeah, no, I don't blame myself. But just looking back, I think like fate, like these are the cards you're dealt. I always tell my kids, you got to be able to win on a hand that somebody else would fold on. That's life. That's how you get through life, and you got to find the joy and the happiness even in those difficult or rough moments. I mean, the Housewife and the Hustler on Hulu, they tried to show that a little bit about how sarcastic and how much time Kathy and I spend making jokes, because if you didn't do that, it would get really kind of dark. And who wants to look back at your life and say, oh, the last 13 years, we were just living in the Matrix? But we were, doing as much as we could to laugh our way through it. As crazy as that sounds too.
No, I kind of live my life the same way. I mean, it's not great all the time, but I do feel that like you are dealt the cards you're dealt, and it is what it is. And so you have to make the best of that. It is your situation. Why you? But I mean, like you could say, well, why not me? Like, it's not that,
Right.
that's why me, but why not me?
Exactly. I just saw this documentary, American Symphony, about this musician and his wife who has cancer, and he's, winning all these Grammys, and, his life is just blowing up. He's about to do his American Symphony at Carnegie Hall, which is like considered, not just in the US, but even outside the US, sort of a pinnacle of someone's career to put on a symphony at Carnegie Hall, right? I really loved the way the director wove in their tragedy, their triumphs, and how they had to deal with the hand they were dealt and do their best. And they used art really to do that. Like me and Kathy used humor. And I hope it really showed sort of a parallel to what we've been living through the last like 10 years.
You guys did use humor, as we saw in The Housewife and the Hustler. Do you think, like, The Housewife and the Hustler, like, how do you feel about it? Like, do you think you and Kathy were accurately represented? Do you think that documentary as a whole represented the situation correctly?
I think that for one, it was done very early on and really in a short turnaround time to keep up with sort of like current news, which we thought was really cool. That's a delicate thing to do, sort of, to because you're rushing, but you don't want to overrun. You got to find the sweet spot where you at least show some of the humanity of the people in the documentary, which I thought that they did. Would I have had so many talking heads or that were almost confusing, or would I have had, I don't remember the lady's name that was supposed to be like an old housewife? Probably not. But those are creative choices, that a director and at a place like Hulu ABC, you got a whole chain of command above you. So, overall, we thought that the way we were portrayed was fair, especially our friendship, because, we are really close friends, especially through all of this.
Yes, I think there should have been some different talking heads in there myself, but that's just me as well. I was in the Randall scandal. They should have called me. Maybe for the next one they will. But it's not about me here today. No, I mean, I thought it was pretty well done too. So now we have, you talk about, Tom, right? We now have this competency trial, like he's in a facility, he's claiming dementia. Before we get there, when you were working with Tom, like towards the end, like, did you ever notice anything with like any memory issues with him?
Yeah, so I definitely did notice some odd things. I felt like, some few months after the car wreck. And, being someone who works on brain injury cases, my son had CTE. I am a brain injury survivor from a car accident when I was 9 from a drunk driver. So I'm hyper aware of brain injury symptoms. So I did wonder, especially in the months afterwards, that he was having like some, aging issues or perhaps some residual stuff from that car wreck. But it was small things, it wasn't like, oh my God, Tom should be in a home. It was way more nuanced than that. It was more like, hey, maybe his doctor needs to know, or people around him should just be, aware of it, because it's important, no matter your age, if you've had a brain injury, for your loved ones around you and the people who help you get through the day, that they're sort of aware of it. Nobody else seemed to really think there was anything going on when I was saying it. So it's funny in hindsight, they're saying people were sending emails or saying whatever. I was being told the opposite, that he was fine. No one said anything to me. The last time I ever saw Tom was at the Jonathan Club. It was a meeting in the follow-up to, demanding that they pay the Ruigomez's back their money. And I gave him a copy of the book that we did, Brain Damage, the one behind me. And I took a photo with it. I knew it would probably be the last time I'd ever see him. I knew at that time. And I asked him if he would donate his brain to Mount Sinai Brain Bank in New York City, because I had done a lot of stuff with them. And Tom was very supportive of my work with brain banks and the moms from, the football world that were trying to get more brain banks involved in the research of, kids who had played collision sports. And he said yes. So, I brought it up on Dr. Oz and bringing it up again today. I mean, I'm going to continue to campaign for Tom's brain. And now that they're claiming that he has late, which is, asinine, then yeah, when he passes away, they should definitely give his brain so he can prove that he wasn't lying about not being able to stand trial.
Why did you suggest that one, why did you think that was the last time you were going to see him? And why did you suggest that he donate his brain at that point?
Because I thought that, I did not see it coming that he was going to claim incompetency for one. Okay, so that had nothing to do with it. It was the fact that I knew that the Ruigomezes were going to sue, and that I was going to take my case, and get another attorney who wasn't stealing from their clients, or that was the hope at the time. And so I didn't think I would see him again once I fired him. I never thought I'd hear from him again. And I was surprised to get calls after. I mean, it was really surprising.
And you just think his brain should have been donated? What? Just because it was like a brilliant legal mind? Like up to that point, we
Yeah.
didn't know about any of this.
Yeah, because, so it was basically, he had been in a car wreck. He had a brain injury. He had played sports when he was young. He's a big proponent of football. I mean, if you look at his high school yearbook, he doesn't say he wants to be a lawyer. He wanted to be the manager of the Rams. Rams.
Wow.
So, and it was because of the work on the NFL case. I mean, you got to think that the 10 years prior to this meeting, I spent 24/7, 365 days a year, traveling, flying, on the phone, doing interviews, talking to victims, talking to experts, talking to Tom, talking to lawyers, going to legal conferences all around brain injury, brain damage. I had flown and gone to Mount Sinai in Florida, many times to New York, to Mount Sinai there, to Mayo Clinic, Boston U, to look at these brain autopsies. Tom paid for all that. So it's like this, we're very connected on that particular topic. And so to me, here he's this famous lawyer. If he wants to, sort of salvage doing something right, then he should give his brain to the research and the science that I've been working on. It's the least that he could do after what he's